Okay, welcome back guys to another 1.6.4 Forge modding tutorial for Minecraft. Okay, on this video we're going to go through how to do a crafting recipe, and it's very simple to do, but understanding how to actually read this code is kind of a little bit weird, so basically that's what we're going to go through in this episode. So I had my, we're going to do this in the initialize, or in the init event. So not in our other one, not in our pre-init, we're going to do this in the init event. And write, something that looks similar to this out. But I'm going to walk you through this. We're going to have to import this one thing here for this. That's the item stack, net minecraft.item. And there we go. Now, it's easier to explain this and what this is doing if I actually have Minecraft here going and I have this open. So basically this is saying, Minecraft, add this recipe block 1. We're getting a new item stack of block 1. So block 1 is, the item that we created. So block 1 is going to end up in here. So actually it's probably easier if I, just put in the recipe right now and show you. So here's our result. Move this over a little bit. So that's our first block that we made, and that is our end result. So whatever we want our output to be, that's what we edit here. Now this over here represents our crafting grid. So now there's a space here, and there's a space here, and S, space B, space S, space. So S equals sand, and B equals, let me change this back to what it was. B equals our item 1. So this is actually what our recipe looks like right now if I was to run this. Okay, and it would look like this. So if we ran this, this would be our recipe. And we saved this, we ran it. This is exactly how we make this recipe. So these symbols here and these spaces are important. This white space, so just a normal space in between, like that, just a normal space in there, represents this spot. Same thing on the other side, represents this spot. So if we just look at the top three, it says space, S, space. So space, sand, space. Next spot, space, B space. So space, B space, and B is our item 1. And at the bottom, space, S space. So space, sand space. Once again, here's S, represents a block of sand, and B represents an item 1. So let's change this up so you can understand this a little bit more. So we could change S to A. So let's change A. Now we're going to have to define A equals a block of sand right here. That's what this is saying. A is a block of sand. So it's the same recipe, but space A. So space sand space, same exact recipe. So it doesn't matter what letter we use. So A equals a block of sand now, and B equals a block, an item 1. So we could change this to Z. Change this to Z. So it's the same exact recipe. So these letters, just A equals sand and Z equals item 1. If that makes any sense to you guys. So if we want to actually change up this recipe, we could go like this. For example, we can go A. So now that's saying 3 blocks of sand. So right here would be our new recipe. Of course, I'd have to save it and rerun Minecraft to show you the actual result. But take my word for it, this is the recipe. So 3 blocks of sand on the top, 1 Z in the middle, which is an item 1, and then 1 A on the bottom, which is a block of sand, 2 white spaces on the side. So say once again, let's say we wanted to put a Z over here and a Z over here. So Z A Z or Z A Z. which would now be like this, and that would be our new crafting recipe. So you see how that's working, guys? And then, once again, if we wanted to fill this, we can make this all Z's in the center, and then this would be like that, and that would be our new crafting recipe. So anytime you want a space in the recipe and you don't want to say, you don't want to use that, you don't fill it. You have a space there, and that will represent that it's empty. So we could, change up a few things here. So say we let's go back to our initial recipe, just to make things a little simpler to read. So you can see here. So our initial recipe is like this, and there's a result. So if we wanted to say we're getting a block back, so say we didn't want to give our block, say we wanted to give something else, so we can go block dot say we wanted to get an emerald, for example, or a diamond block, or a clay block. So we could pick whatever we want, and let's just say an anvil. So this recipe would give us an anvil now. Say we didn't want to use, block dot sand. Once again, you can change it to block dot whatever you want. Block dot bedrock. So you need a bedrock to make this recipe, which wouldn't work because people can't really get bedrock in the game. So whatever you want to use to make your recipes. I think that kind of sums up everything in here. A few things that I will say about this is it's written the way it is written so that you can identify and read this easier. So for example, I could have wrote it or written it like this and had it all one line like so, but it's just harder to read like that, and you can't visualize the crafting table. So why it's written the way it's written and why it's spaced the way it's spaced is all a preference of visualizing the actual crafting recipe in the crafting table. Because you could visualize this a lot better. So in your code, it's probably best to leave it like this, so anytime you glance over it, you could look over at it. And same thing here, like a block of sand, you might want to call this S to represent sand. This way, you can visualize it a little bit better. So sand now equals S. And item 1, what is this? On package. I'm not sure why it changed there. What did I do? I must have did something. So over here, you can make this say, let's say it was a block dot, I don't know, block dot dirt. So sand and a dirt, so you can change the Z to a D instead. So it'll help you identify it a little bit easier there, just so you know what you're getting back. Alright guys, I hope that sums up this tutorial. I will leave it as something like this, so we will use our items to get our block or something like that. I'll probably leave the recipe like so. And then we'll figure out a way how to actually get this item to actually make this, some type of a mod. So, we'll craft and we'll get our block and figure out a way how to obtain this item, maybe in the next video or an upcoming video.